Just 7 years ago, Americans emptied their homes for a chance to witness a total solar eclipse, an astronomical event hailed as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Back then, you might have heard this was the first to cut across the United States from coast to coast in a century, and it was. But lately, you might have heard there's another total solar eclipse coming. Slicing through North America on April 8th, 2024, the total solar eclipse will be on display over a swath of North America, allowing an estimated 31 million people a chance to step outside and see the sun's corona. A total solar eclipse occurs when the moon comes between the sun and Earth. During that brief period when the sun is entirely hidden, the sky will darken to twilight. When the sun is concealed, people have the unusual chance to observe the sun's corona glowing around the edges of the moon. The corona, the outer layer of the sun's atmosphere, is normally washed out by the much brighter solar surface. When the moon completely blocks out the sun, it casts a shadow on Earth. As this shadow moves, it creates a path of totality, which is a relatively narrow band that sweeps across the surface. Anyone standing inside this path will see a total solar eclipse, weather and clouds permitting. On April 8th, 2024, this eclipse band will be around 115 miles wide. According to NASA, the moon is expected to first cast its shadow on Mexico's Pacific coast at 11:07 a.m. Pacific time. The path of totality will arc from Texas to Maine, entering Canada through southern Ontario and exiting on the Atlantic coast of Newfoundland at 5:16 p.m. Newfoundland Daylight Time. But we're not all cartographers. If reading a map isn't your bag, eclipse calculators can help determine whether your location will be in the moon's shadow. If it's not, you'll at least know how much of the sun the moon will block from your vantage point. Everywhere else in the US mainland, from coast to coast, will get a partial eclipse, meaning some portion of the sun will be exposed, said Michael Zeiler, a geographer and co-founder of Great American Eclipse, a resource for solar eclipses around the world. He goes on to say, for the people who are in the partial eclipse that can't get to the total solar eclipse, they can still see some interesting things. One of the most interesting things they can see is the shadow projections from tree leaves, because the gaps between the leaves in a tree can form these shadows on the ground that are very striking. How can you safely view the eclipse? For centuries, parents have scolded their children on the dangers of staring at the sun. And it's so ingrained in humans not to look, the natural instinct is to squint and wince when confronted with bright light, said Dr. Ralph Chow, a retired optometry professor from the University of Waterloo in Ontario. For the most part, those warnings hold true, but total solar eclipses are the one exception. During this astronomical event, the moon comes between the sun and Earth. When they align, the sun is entirely hidden, and the sky darkens to twilight. That's when people can look in the direction of the sun, except instead of seeing that bright saucer of light, they'll view the sun's corona, a hazy glow around it. But knowing when it's safe to remove protective eclipse glasses during the event may not be so obvious to the layperson. It's important to keep those shades with special eclipse viewing filters on until the right moment, said Chow, who led the group that developed the international standard for solar eclipse viewers known as ISO 12312-2. Proper eclipse viewers must meet the international standard ISO 12312-2. That's the key number to look for when making your purchase. Here are some crucial eclipse viewing tips. 1. Don't use damaged or scratched viewers. 2. If you normally wear glasses, use the eclipse viewers over your regular glasses. 3. Don't remove the viewers until you've turned or looked away from the sun. Where can you buy approved eclipse viewing glasses? Well, since most neighborhood stores don't carry approved eclipse viewing glasses, you will likely need to look online. If you choose to buy your eclipse glasses from a website, you might see if the vendor is selling products that have been vetted by the American Astronomical Society, the AAS. Otherwise, there's risk of purchasing unsafe or misleading products, so the AAS has amassed this great list of vetted sellers. You can find them at eclipse.aas.org/resources/solar-filters. They recommend that if you shop in an online marketplace, make sure that 1, the seller is identified on the site, and 2, the seller is listed on this page. Otherwise, you can't be sure you're getting a product you can trust to protect your eyes. Kelly Korrick, a heliophysicist and the US Space Agency's 2024 Eclipse Program Manager, thinks if you're not in the path of totality, you're missing out on the best part, the corona. And overall, the event is a whole body experience, she told Mashable. She goes on to say, I would definitely encourage, if at all possible, to get to totality to see it. Even when you blot out 97–99% of the sun, it looks eerie, but it's still like an overcast day. It's not quite the same as the darkness that you get when the sun is completely gone. The sun, moon, and earth align like this to form a total solar eclipse every 1 to 3 years, but the shadow of the moon usually traces a path over oceans and desolate corners of the world, said Korek. In one particular location, to get that solar eclipse again, it's between 400 and 1,000 years on average. So it's once in a lifetime in a specific spot, but it's not necessarily once in a lifetime for the planet. But wherever and however you end up seeing the eclipse, be safe and enjoy the cosmic vista above.